I feel that when we find our note, we find the song of our soul. And if we can begin to express this, it produces a level of harmony within our beings where we feel immensely powerful. And that's really what it is to become an empowered and integrated human being, a spiritual being having a human experience.
You're listening to the Almost 30 podcast, a lifestyle podcast hosted by Krista Williams and Lindsey Simsick.
Tune in for a new episode every Tuesday to hear our honest conversations about topics like wellness, entrepreneurship, spirituality, and self-development with guests who are really smart, really inspirational,
and really fucking funny. It's real, it's raw, and it's unfiltered.
Inspired by our transition from our 20s to our 30s, we realized it's so much more than that. Our mission is to provide you with the tools, guidance, and motivation to help you navigate any transitions in your life and propel your personal growth.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Almost 30 podcast.
Here we go. Ooh. I'm just a girl.
I'm just a girl. Me and LT were singing the good old, a Midwestern classic. A song that defines my childhood. I'm just a girl, but also...
I'm kind of a boy too.
No, that. Well, you are. What is it? How does it start?
We were completely disturbed when
this was
we realized
we
sang this as children.
24/7.
McDonald's,
Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Pizza Hut. How does it start out?
Harmony. I think that was it, which is the worst song ever, if that's where you're starting.
Isn't that crazy?
But like
free advertising.
What?
I just that was all we had to sing about.
Yeah.
Brand name fast food chains.
And
Q.
Miss Mary Mac.
I'll dress in black with silver buttons on her back.
It just sounded like a boudoir shoot, and Miss Mary was like the star of it.
Dude. With silver buttons.
All down her back.
Yeah.
Back. She jumped so high.
She touched the sky. What the fuck's that about?
And never came back.
It's a clapping game.
Oh, thanks, Wikipedia.
Why was she dressed in black?
Well, that's the thing.
That sounds creepy.
That sounds like me.
Dude, there's a bunch of... What's that one creepy song where it's talks about killing your teacher?
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's and then the teacher will die. It's honestly like that. It's
so many listeners are screaming.
I know
at
you
us
guys
right
know
now
it.
That they know.
We need a producer.
I know.
I love Google. If Google gets me for this one, no, they weren't. I said teacher dying song.
They're like Marilyn Manson dope show.
Literally, they were like,
Yeah. Anyway, we're a little silly at the end of this day.
Yeah, it's been a great day, though.
It's been the most amazing day.
Being very conscious about people giving energy and people taking.
Mm-hmm. Well, you guys know we interview a lot of people. Everyone's incredible. It's just and we're meeting a lot of people too. So it's just very interesting to kind of take note. It doesn't mean we don't like them. It's just when people take energy and we don't receive it back or vice versa, it's just really interesting. Or that they are kind of a draining energy. But today was I literally am so filled up. Could fucking fly to Mars.
I could too.
Today's interview.
I'm on a high.
Yeah.
When Alok was talking, we have bomb interviews coming up.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I literally was like, I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm. Me
I'm
too.
doing it.
I wanted to slide off the chair and just smack the
He
floor.
doesn't even know. That was casual. That was casual convo.
He doesn't.
Cash con. And he doesn't even understand.
Well, no, he does. He knows everything.
Well, he knows everything, but he doesn't understand how literally him just talking at night, the end of his day in New York had so much impact.
I know.
And Stewart,
today is insane. So this is someone who I've wanted to bring on the podcast for a little while now. I met Stewart Pearce at our SoulCycle Legends retreat, which is a retreat for instructors. Legends, baby.
It's for legends only. They check your legends and they say,
we had to apply.
They say, yes.
Yeah. But really, my favorite part about it, one was Stewart, number one, and I'll tell you why. And two was just like getting to hang with other instructors. You're just like, oh, you get it,
Shit talking.
But so much of what brings us joy as instructors and kind of is like the bane of our existence is our relationship with our voice. And as you guys know and have kind of witnessed throughout our evolution as Almost 30 podcasts, I'm sure if you go back to earlier episodes, you will remember when I basically didn't have a voice. I was like, hello.
Some days we couldn't record.
Some days we couldn't record. It was really
I remember
depressing.
you talking to me being like, I can't record. My voice is too bad.
Yeah. It was really depressing. So, and
your drinking was
my drinking was out of control.
It was probably the drinking
and the cigarettes.
Yeah.
So, the voice is connected to so much more than just like, your larynx. It's deeply emotional and spiritual. And I've just been getting to know it as I've gotten older, and especially as we've like spoken our truth on the podcast. And I truly believe that because, we're in this world now and we're speaking on a regular basis, speaking our truth, being ourselves, that I have not lost my voice. Like that is a huge part of it. So anyway, we're going to talk a lot about that. Stewart is a world-renowned voice coach, and he came to work with us at the SoulCycle retreat on finding our true tone. So much of us talk up here because we feel like we have to get everyone's attention because we're women and we just want to command a room in a way that, and like that voice is, it makes me sad actually. I'm pretty sensitive to it now when I hear women, especially who are not on their true tone. Because that there's probably something going on. I don't mean that in like a weird way. It's just like, they're not quite themselves in every facet of their life. And the voice is just so telling. And even you've like discovered like kind of like dropping into your tone too.
Yeah.
And I notice like sometimes even when I talk on the phone to certain people, I pitch up and I'm like, why am I pitching up?
I'll hear you pitch up sometimes talking to like
sponsor staff.
No, like
family.
No, keep going. No, like when you're making an appointment.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a complete stranger.
Yeah, because I want them to like me and give me the best appointment.
100%. Yeah, you're like, hi, this is Lindsey Simsek.
Yeah.
But I mean, everyone does it.
Yeah, totally. But it's really interesting. Like,
yeah.
So Stewart is world renowned. He's worked with everyone in Hollywood. But most like notably, at least for me, caught me. No, not me. Princess Diana. And they were extremely close. And I don't know if our listeners, some of you are old enough if you're kind of aware of, her presence in the world when she was alive. But there was a shift that happened with Princess Diana in finding her voice and her presence as a change maker and speaker and all of that. And Stewart was one of the people behind that.
I mean,
which is like, hello.
Insane. He's also very spiritual. He was
he's an intuitive.
Yeah, he's an intuitive and his story is just beautiful and amazing. So the purpose of this is to kind of talk more about tonality, your voice, where it comes from, and not really to look at certain voices or tones as better than the other, but really to help you guys and educate ourselves and kind of use Stewart's knowledge to really find that breath
your
that
true
controls
tone.
the tone, that controls your everything. There really is something to it when someone is confident and standing in their light and in their true tone. There is nothing can stop them.
Well, you'll just hear the moment you hear Stewart's voice on the podcast, you'll know what we mean.
Yeah.
It literally gives me goosey bumps.
Yeah.
The second I hear it.
He's cool too.
He's so
And
sweet.
and this was kind of a response a lot to the conversations we've been having in the Facebook group. So Lindsey and I have been talking about voice and, her voice journey. And then mine too, kind of coming more into my voice. I can feel when it's like I'm just more of my highest self when I have a certain vocal tone than I was before, so, and we were talked about that. And so this is like in response to that. So we're really excited to explore that with you and kind of just share this with you. It's
something
really
new.
Exciting. Something new.
I don't think anyone's really talking about this.
I know.
Sorry to say it.
I think this is another groundbreaker.
I think this is an exclusive.
I think this is going to be amazing.
Okay, so let's jump into the episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, we are loving your reviews and your posts in the group and your DMs and your emails. And don't stop. We're always kind of there listening, responding, resharing your posts. So please tag us and everything. Do you have a review for me?
Yeah, I have a great review. Okay. Wowza. Christina from New Jersey. I've been putting off writing this review for longer than I'm proud to admit. This podcast has become my Bible of sorts, anxiously waiting for Tuesday and Thursday to come just to get the opportunity to hear Krista and Lindsey be funny and what their guest speaker has to offer. It's amazing to me the way these podcasts resonate in my soul and specifically speak to my life. Things I'm going through, have gone through, and address my struggles and worries. Krista and Lindsey, I am your newbie manifester, and I'm hoping one day you will need an employee and I can be it for you. I'm an elementary educator and could use a massive career change. I love you guys. Please keep making podcasts until you're old and gray. Honey, I will never be old and gray, but I will always make podcasts for you.
I will be tight in the face and blonde as hell.
I will be actually like Donatella Versace.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what's going to happen.
Except not tan like that, because you would never.
We used to. My high school self, you would be like, oh, she's going to be Donatella. Guys, never mind.
What?
I was going to say something about who...
What?
This is a funny one too. I was going to say something that some people say I look like this person, but I don't want to tell you guys because then I'm going to be
because literally there's going to be memes in the group.
Yes, you guys are.
There's Krista.
You can guess who it is if you want, but
we should guess. They should guess.
Guys, guess who people say that I look like. Okay.
And guess.
Be very careful. Be very, very careful.
Be kind.
Be kind.
Do you have
guess who I look like, but also improve it. I actually have another one too, real fast, because this is actually really cute. Oh, I've learned so much. Wow, where has this podcast been all my life? Seriously, it's amazing. Krista and Lindsey crack me up, and both of them ask great questions. I feel mind blown every time I finish this episode. Ever since I heard about this podcast, which by the way, I work with Krista's mom, and that's how I found about Almost 30. Thanks, Terry. Dead to the world. I haven't stopped listening. Krista and Lindsey are part of my everyday life. Thank you so much. And also come to Cincy for your tour. Emily from Cincinnati.
Yes,
Emily,
we will. We're coming to Cincy. Don't worry.
Honey Boo Child will be in Cincy.
Oh my God. Terry is a part of Almost 30 Nation.
Yeah.
What the heck?
T-Dog.
That makes me so happy.
Yeah. T-Dot. We call her, now her new nickname is Top Della T.
Top Della T?
Yeah. Top Della T.
Dalla.
Okay. Lindsey is with it.
I was just my grandmother from.
You're like, Top Della T.
I had a lapse in something.
You're like,
what's your name? Oh God. Here we are.
Okay. Join the secret Facebook group. There's a lot happening in the secret Facebook group. And then we'll see you on tour. Go to almost30podcast.com/tour. We cannot wait to meet you. We have some bomb things happening. And then Almost 30 Podcast on Instagram. Chloe posts some cool shit. I'm like, wait, what?
Let's be real. Yeah. All right, guys, enjoy this episode. This episode is brought to you by Physicality. Okay, stop what you're doing. Please go to the Physicality Instagram and you can meet Maury. Maury is the mushroom mobile. Okay, it created a mushroom mobile because they're the coolest brand ever. And he's traveling up and down the West Coast with free shroom drinks and adventures for all you fun guys and gals. Anyway, I just love it so much. We love Physicality. As you know, we've been bringing them on tour. Everyone's been freaking out. Physicality makes drinking mushrooms, drinking them delicious and easy to do with their wide variety of superfood and super good for you beverages. So there's mushroom coffees, matchas, hot cacao, multi-mushroom blends. They're all so delicious. I am loving the golden latte right now. So it has coconut milk powder. So it's really, really creamy and delicious. And I have been using the mushroom coffees. I've been blending it with hot water, a little bit of MCT oil, cinnamon, and what else is there? Oh, and I have a little coconut milk powder as well that I'm putting in there just to make it creamy. But I have so much fun being like a little mushroom chemist. So try out a bunch, see what works for you. This has helped me to just kind of create routine, I guess, in my everyday, whether it's a beverage for my mornings when I am, pulling a tarot card and meditating and doing all my woo-woo stuff, or right before bed when I'm like reading and I have my hot cacao with reishi. I know it sounds a little kooky, but for some reason the routine just brings me like peace and groundedness. So anyway, don't knock it till you try it. So foursigmatic.com/almost30, and you can use our code almost30 for 15% off of your first order. So that's foursigmatic.com/almost30. It'll actually bring you to a landing page where it has some of our favorites, and you can use our code almost30 for 15% off. This episode is also brought to you by Woo for Play.
The best.
It's the best.
In the game.
It's so delicious.
Justin keeps saying, he's like, stop eating it. I literally like chill. And I'm like, he'll be like, all right, I'm going to take a shower. This is really too TMI. And then I just chill and eat some Woo for Play. No joke. I will lay in the bed and eat it.
It's on some toast.
It's literally so bomb. I was like, they should make Woo for Play snacks.
Okay.
I mean, it's so delish.
Hey, come find a snack in my pee.
Yeah, it's all natural too.
It's 100% natural and organic lube. It doesn't mess with your pH. A lot of times in the past when I've used lube, it fucks up my pH.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten a yeast infection, but I've like just experienced just like this feeling of like, something's different.
Yeah.
And there's no harmful chemicals. The ingredients, for example, they have coconut oil, vanilla essence. That's why it tastes and smells delicious. It has beeswax, which relieves stress and helps with relaxation. It also hydrates the skin. There's stevia in there, so it's kind of sweet. And stevia is also kind of like an antibacterial, fights germs. So the ingredients are bomb.
So if you're getting it on, you want to use some lube. Lube is like completely normal. It makes sex so much better. And it just spices it up in all the right way. It's delicious. And we're really happy to be working with lube and to be sponsored by lube. And I know that in the secret Facebook group, everyone fucking loves it.
Yeah. So you can go to wooforplay.com, wooforplay.com, and you can use our code almost30 for 10% off. So try it out. Join the group. We're always talking about anything and everything, and this is one of those things. So let us know if you love it. Wooforplay.com. Use our code almost30.
I shut up for 2 years. I muted myself for 2 years, and my brother actually did all of the speaking for me. So I became an educationally subnormal child, but developed this really, really rich inner life. And then 2 years later, at the age of about 9 or 10, when I opened my mouth, I began to speak in a very, very different way from a lot of other people. And people kept saying to me, there's something about your voice, there's something about your voice, even at a very early age. And then, of course, my voice broke and I moved into secondary education because we have primary education and secondary education in the United Kingdom. And I began to develop a social consciousness, which was far superior to anything that was actually taking place for me academically, because I just didn't fit into the way that the teachers were creating a rationale, except for those whose hearts were open. And then I began to recognize, so you're looking for people that have their hearts open. You're looking for people that are actually in connection with their soul. And I could see it in their energy field. I could see it in their aura, as well, of course, in their eyes. And whatever I did, wherever I went, I heard people saying, but there's something about your voice. There's something about your voice. Have you thought about becoming an actor? Well, I mean, up to that point, I'd never, ever considered, I'd never received any approbation, and I'd never considered that I was worth anything, because I was constantly being told, you are nothing and you will always be nothing. So I thought, well, here's an opportunity. I think I'm going to fly with this one. This seems really exciting. So to cut a long story short, I became an actor. And through my 20s, I worked as an actor for about 8 years. Lo and behold, the universe revealed to me that not only did I have a talent, but that I was actually a commodity that a number of people found really enticing in the world of the entertainment industry. And worked with some very extraordinary theatre companies, one of which was called the Royal Shakespeare Company here, which is where I discovered about telling stories. And I worked alongside people like Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen and Ben Kingsley, who were all very young men then. And then I went on tour with the company and ended up, it was a world tour, and ended up for I think about 2 or 3 months on Broadway. And I thought, this is amazing. I love New York City. Mm-hmm. So I stayed on because that was the end of the tour. The company came back to the United Kingdom. I stayed on and I got work on Broadway. And then I got my big break. And my big break was that I was to make a movie. And the movie was being directed by Spielberg. And, I was moving, therefore, from New York to Hollywood. And everything was, there was my career. I was going to become the greatest actor of the 20th century. And as I was packing up after 18 months, 2 years of living in New York, the telephone rang and it was my brother saying, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean? What am I doing?" "I'm getting ready to go to Hollywood to make a movie." And he said, "Are you sitting down? You need to know that Mum's dying of cancer. She's got 3 months to live. So what are you going to do?" So everything moved into slow motion as I decided, now what am I going to do with this? And I had, in a space of just seconds, movie, mum. And of course, I let the movie go and came back to the United Kingdom and nursed my mother for a year. She lasted for a year and then she died of cancer. And then it was a question of, now what do I do? Because I'd lost my agent, lost my manager. 20th Century Fox were never going to employ me again. I was in breach of contract. And in the middle of all their mayhem of what that was all about, the telephone rang and everything went into slow motion. So you see there are these wheels of fortune that have created these huge shifts in my perspective and therefore in my destiny. And on the other end of the telephone was a very remarkable woman who was actually the voice director of the Royal Shakespeare Company, with whom I'd worked for 2-3 years, saying, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm not doing anything. I'm just being this." And she said, "Oh, bleep, what are you going to do?"
You can cuss here.
"Oh, fuck, what are you going to do?"
Yeah.
And I said, "I don't know." She said, "Well, come and teach for me." And I said, "But I'm an actor." And she said, "Yes, but there's something about your voice. Come and teach for me. You've already been through the apprenticeship, so to speak, because you worked with me in the company as an actor. Come and work for me." And there were a number of assignments that she gave me so that I could learn what it was to become a voice coach. And in the next breath, she said, "And there's this woman I want you to go and work with." I don't want to work with her. She's just taken over the Conservative Party. So this was my first client. It's a woman called Margaret Thatcher. So 2 weeks later, there I was walking into Downing Street. So that's what I meant by the wheel of destiny turning, that I was obviously called to do something really specific. And arising out of the horror of spending a year watching my mother die of cancer, here was this extraordinary opportunity. So I just went through the door. And so in short, that's how it all started to happen, because a lot of other stuff has gone on in the meantime. And I've had some very extraordinary clients. I was Margaret Thatcher, and a wonderful woman called Anita Roddick. So many people, but then leading up to the fantastic Diana, Princess of Wales, who I worked with for the last 2 years of her life. We didn't know it was the last 2 years of her life, but it certainly was. So that's a potted version of my story.
I'd love to talk about, you said that as a child that you were basically mute during that time.
For 2 years.
For 2 years, yeah. So I'd love to talk about kind of your experience in that other realm with what you call spirit or angels. What was that like? And was it a knowing, or were you scared? What did it feel like?
Do you know, I was never, ever scared. I was in awe of the wonder. What I saw was completely benign. What I saw was completely pure. What I saw was just iridescent, illumined beings of light that resonated such love I also saw the kingdom of the dark, and I was taught in this no verbal way of deep, deep knowing that the kingdom of the dark was a place that I didn't need to go into, and that I was very protected by these beings of light that I saw as angels and spirit guardians. So I was never frightened. It's the 3D world I was frightened of.
Mm.
And I couldn't read, you see. I was synesthetic. So I had this crossover of the senses. So I saw sound. And the sound that I saw coming out of people's bodies was either, beautiful pastel colors of pink and blue and yellow, which meant that they were expressing love and sympathy and empathy and tenderness and truth. Or I saw shocking red and deep purple. And sometimes when I saw people get angry, it was almost as though they were spitting out shards of glass, cut pieces of glass. And that terrified me. My father was angry. He was bewildered and fearful about what he'd created. He just didn't understand who I was, what I was. He'd been a man who had aspired socially from very lowly working class situation into this very lofty situation of working for the British royal family. He was a war hero because I was born just at the end of the Second World War. And he was just bewildered, absolutely bewildered. And, what they did with children this was the early 50s when I was born, what they did was they punished you. If you couldn't do something, they just beat you. So I was always being beaten. And that was just terrifying because in order for the headmaster of the school to move into the vector of energy that it takes to beat a child, to beat a 7 or 8-year-old child with a stick, it appeared to be anger. And that was really terrifying to behold. So I just got used to being beaten up, basically.
Oh, my God. Your poor little soul. And when you made the transition, I guess, so I assume right now, you're not really as much living in the world where you're seeing colors when people are speaking, or maybe you are, but I'd love to talk about, the transition, I guess, from being that fully ethereal being that's really having a hard time being in this human world and the person that you are now.
Where do we begin?
Yeah. Is it just been your whole life, or do you remember like a moment in time in your life where you were kind of like, your spirit kind of decided that you needed to ground yourself in the human body and experience the human experiences rather than living fully in the world that you were living in, where you were seeing everything as like not human?
Yeah, there was a great transition when I moved from the innocence of childhood through adolescence and discovering sex.
Wow.
That was something. So in discovering sex, that was another way of coming fully back into my body.
Wow.
And the hormonal maturities that took place as I grew. And also it was very much to do with the fact that I saw that I was found to be attractive. And earlier on, I had always been disciplined, criticized, disapproved of, etc., etc. So when I found that in my own right, that people were drawn to me through a charismatic or through an attraction energy, that I thought, wait, this is fun. I like this. And at the very early age of 15, I fell in love with a much older person. And we had a 3-year relationship. So that was actually a journey of immense maturity. I grew up very, very fast. I was still emotionally immature as far as the inner plane, but as far as the outer plane was concerned, I developed a consciousness that it was able to maneuver myself through the world in a much more effective way. So I suppose I was socially precocious,
What about the physicality of kind of exploring your sexual being and being in your body? How does that relate to the development of your voice and the resonance of it? I think a lot of, we talk to a lot of women. We've been having a conversation recently about being on voice and in your power and how that sounds differently. So I'd love to kind of explore, between the physical and the resonant voice.
Mm. Well, for me, the arousal of the association with my sexual being, my sensual being, and my sensory being all came at once. But for me, I've always felt that love, sexuality, and the way that I am sensually is a sacred act. I've always felt completely at one with the divine. And I remember experiencing, first orgasm that wasn't self-stimulated. It was all about making love. And literally, I was at one with the divine, which is interesting as a concept because it's a very ancient concept that our peoples, I don't know what happens in the Far East or indeed in the African cultures, but in the Caucasian, European, medieval cultures, they had a great belief in something they called le petit mort, the little death, which was coming, which was orgasm. And they believed in medievalism, and Shakespeare writes about this, that there are 3 points in our lives where we're completely at one with the divine: birth, orgasm, and death. And you hear, Juliet in Romeo and Juliet speaks this. And she's apparently 14 when she falls in love with Romeo and has this relationship. So for me, the appreciation of spirit has always been wrapped within the sacred harmony of the way that I feel things. Because I know that the whole of my body is rather like a lightning rod. It feels so much. Spirit, to me, is an embodied creation. Now, where voice fits in is that I believe that what I've learned over the years is that sound is at the very core of creation, and that we have within our bodies this ability to make sound. And so if we have this ability to make sound in relation to sound as at the core of creation, then why not go to the very core of our own creative process and really, even if it takes time, to dig deep and to remove masks or skins or ways of being that have always been to do with protecting ourselves from violent energies on the outside of us, or protecting ourselves in inhibition from really expressing ourselves. That the best way to actually move into the firmament of what we're really all about, the inner cosmology of what we're all about, and using the whole of our bodies as an expression of our spirit, is to go right into the way that our voices can make sound. And so that was always a very natural path for me. What I then began to do as a voice coach is to define it in a very specific way, which is also quite an ancient concept. I mean, we know that this was deliberated in Rome and in Greece, that in the ancient Greek civilization, that we each have a note. And so what I do as a voice coach is to tune people into their note. Now, the philosophy that I'm really talking about began before the noise, before the machines. And today I feel that our note sounding, or the song of our soul sounding, because I feel that when we find our note, we find the song of our soul. And if we can begin to express this, it produces a level of harmony within our beings where we feel immensely powerful. And that's really what it is to become an empowered and integrated human being, a spiritual being having a human experience. So what I do is I tune people into their note. And when we find that note, we find that there are lines of energy that we can literally float on in our sound making, which allows us to connect with extraordinary lines of energy, song lines, if you like, within the cultures of our people, and also those that exist within the planet, because our song lines connect with the vital electromagnetic lines of our planet. Is this all making sense?
Yes, I'm interested. Like, when you work with people one-on-one, do you have to go back to that moment or that time where the soul's note became kind of out of tune? Like when they were born, was it pure? what does that look like? And how do you, reprogram it in a way?
The actual way in is quite simple, as we experienced when we were working together on the the retreat on the land. Doing something about it is a little bit more complex, but actually tuning into it, doing something about it is a little bit more complex because we have our own habits, we have our own masks, and a lot of them are unconscious. And so what I do is I try to very lovingly and very compassionately allow someone to understand what their masks are, what their inhibitions are, what is happening unconsciously. But what's interesting, you see, is that we're all educated, socialized, and conditioned by the doing impulse. And as a result of this, what happens is that most of us live in our heads. And of course, this sound, as we know, is very familiar in the United States of America, and it gets even more nasal. You know what I'm saying? This tends to be more of like the New York City sound, where you get a lot of nasality coming in. But of course, all of the sound is just coming from this upper region of my body. And then what I'm going to do is change and go back to my note. And then suddenly I produce a very, very different quality of sound. So in terms of the differential between somebody who lives in their head and somebody who lives in their body, the shift can actually be quite easy, particularly if life in the head has created stress, challenging relationships, whether that's professional or personal. By getting somebody to really be in their body, all of that begins to change, just like that.
Is there almost like a magnetic quality that when you are in your note and you are putting out your note and your true voice, is it almost like everything in your life starts to happen because you are finally being your true self?
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to find your note? Like, when did you realize that this was your methodology and that this was really what was going on and that this was your calling?
I've always known instinctively, I've always known the hidden promise of what we're discussing. And then the intellect gets in and defines it in other ways, And for me, what it's been is this wonderful, continuously organic happening. I spend a lot of time just listening to life. Literally being still and meditating and contemplating. And it's quite interesting, when you move into stillness and when you move into silence, that the universe speeds up with its manifestation process. And suddenly you come out of stillness, you turn a corner in life, so to speak, and there's somebody standing there saying, I want you to do this job. I want you to meet this person. Have you ever thought about writing a book? Or do you know, why don't you go to the far corners of the earth and meet this extraordinary shaman? That's how it's always been for me. It's a sort of magic when we have the ability to still and cease the searching, but just accept and allow. Having said that, I'm a great seeker, as you can feel. I'm a great searcher. But at the same time, I have this ability that I've learned of being able to do and be, and not just do. I think Scooby-Doo had it right. Doobie-doobie-doobie-doo. So the awarenesses that I'm talking about, the points of identification, have really just grown and grown and grown and grown because of being present with the moment. Even when I'm working with someone who's quite demanding, and stars or famous people in the world can often be quite demanding because their reputation precedes them. So they're still the human being, but then you get whatever, who can I choose? Johnny Depp walks in, and there is the human being who is the sensitive, intuitive man, but then you get the paraphernalia of this is a big star, if you like, which can be referred to as being ego. With Johnny, I feel that is all very diffused in the nature of his craft as an actor, because he's a sensitive. So he shapeshifts, which is what we see on camera. Or somebody like Daniel Day-Lewis, So if we can get past all of that paraphernalia, we can go to the very core of what the spirit is all about. And these people, the people that come to me, they always come to me through word of mouth. And they hear that I have this ability to not just deal with their world from a mechanistic point of view. Let's tick the boxes. Okay, if you have this technique, you're going to be magnetic. It doesn't work like that. It has to be holistic. It has to be the whole person. And that's the way that I see it. And of course, the people that come to me, they often have challenges. They often have problems. And the difficulty that they're experiencing is being able to read what the challenge is or what the problem is, and then how to heal it. And for some reason, I have an innate sense of how to help somebody back into harmony. Because if we have a challenge that's really affecting us and we're not being the person that we really want to be, it's always to do with the fact that we're not seeing how to be able to move into harmony.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from our sponsor, Fabletics. Fabletics is your one-stop shop for really cute, affordable, and actually it fits so well, athletic wear for yoga, running, gym gear, anything you want, shoes, accessories. I love it.
Yeah,
so
I'm wearing a
much.
Fabletics dress right now.
It's so cute.
It's fucking cute as shit. I'm wearing this dress right now. It's kind of like a mesh white, and it's so soft, so comfortable. It's not really workout, but I'm like been wearing it all day, and it's so comfortable.
Yeah, they have like what you're wearing is athleisure. You can just wear it whenever. And I worked out this morning and I got, it's really cute, the Faye 2-piece outfit. So it's this beautiful kind of like dusted lilac color and this really cute sports bra with this mesh detail. And it's kind of like this, it's kind of sexy, but without it being like, oh God.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like it's like made with the woman in mind. It fits so well. And I'm kind of a bitch about my fit. And this brand really takes the time to fit all bodies. So
and it's high quality too. So I like that it's affordable. You can get tons of different styles. They release new styles every month. So not only does it fit well, like Lindsey was talking about, but it's also really affordable. So that's what I really like about everything that I get from there is that it's very, very affordable. So it's like a one-stop shop for affordable gym wear that you want to have also be on trend.
So for our listeners, you can get 2 leggings for $24 when you sign up for the VIP membership. And what's great is that you can cancel or skip a month at any time. There's no commitment to purchase monthly. So fabletics.com/almost30, sign up for the VIP membership and you'll get 2 leggings for $24, which is a $99 value. Let us know what you get. If you're wondering what we got in our order, please join the secret Facebook group. We'll talk all about it. This episode is also brought to you by Bombas.
Bombas, baby.
They're the most comfortable socks in the history of feet.
I didn't know that Bombas were Bombas until we started working with them, but I always knew that there was a sock that I loved and that I always felt like better in. And then I put it all together and I was like, whoa, Bombas are like my soulmate socks.
Oh,
they are. Honestly, I feel so good in them. I feel grounded. Like I feel like I have feet when I wear them.
Yeah. So they've like totally re-engineered socks. They've spent about 2 years researching this. And what they've come up with is a honeycomb arch support system. So it provides extra support where you need it most, which is in the arch of the feet. If you've ever worked out your feet and taken a little ball and done a little tension work there, you would be surprised to know how much tension is in your feet and how it's connected to other parts of your body. So these socks have a cushioned footbed, reinforced for comfort without the added bulkiness. And the technology, this stay up technology, it has, if you're wondering, there are 133 tension levels were tested here, and the perfect tension that provides the most comfort and stays in one place so your socks aren't moving around all the time has been found by Bombas.
Yeah, I love that. I also can wear them in this. I didn't know this was possible until then, but you could have socks that feel warm in the winter and then cool in the summer. Yeah. So that's one of my favorite things about them. But you guys, I know you're wearing socks almost every day if you're not wearing sandals, especially when you work out to work. I pretty much only wear flats now or something that requires socks. So these are our preferred sock brand. They're amazing, especially for Lindsey at SoulCycle. They stay in her clips, everything like that. So we're excited that they are a sponsor, and we're excited you guys can hug your little feet.
And what's so great about Bombas, last thing, every pair sold, they donate a pair.
Come on!
So the socks are the number one most requested item in homeless shelters.
That gives me pause.
But you can't donate socks. Did you know that?
I didn't.
Isn't that crazy? You can't donate socks, so that's why use
Makes
socks.
sense. Yeah.
So Bombas donates one brand new pair of socks for every pair they sell.
Wow.
So they've sold and donated over 7 million pairs of socks. It's pretty crazy. Anyway, you can go to bombas.com and use our code ALMOST30, ALMOST30 for 20% off your first order. So that's BOMBAS.com and you'll get 20% off your first order with the code ALMOST30. I have experience with SoulCycle, the repetition of using my voice. And I know a lot of our listeners are conducting meetings on a regular basis. The repetition of it can sometimes, in my experience, compromise the quality of the voice and kind of eat away at you a little bit. And so I've worked really hard to try and stay on voice and present, but is there any ways in which that, in working with, I know you do some corporate training as well, that you coach people to make it almost feel new every time they are vocalizing anything?
Yeah, and you see the determining factor to make it new in the corporate world are the relationships that are being established, which is slightly different, I feel, from the context that you find yourselves in.
Mm-hmm.
Because there you are dealing with a group in a uniform way. Although you see them as individuals, you're dealing with the group and you're engaged in a hybrid activity. There you are on a bicycle. There they are on bicycles. And there you are with your microphone. And you needing to take it through a workout. It's an unusual activity. And to be frank, I'm pretty ignorant about that. I mean, I still have not yet gone into either do a class or observe a class.
We're waiting.
In SoulCycle.
I would drop dead.
I know that's something that I was going to do in May. I was in New York. After you guys, I went for 2 weeks to LA and then 4 weeks to New York. And I was going to work with Sean, and somehow it never happened.
Wow.
So the two contexts are just slightly different. But I do believe that the key is how we establish contact with the people whom we are with, because all successful communication is based on the response we get. And that if we're not getting the response that we want, all we need to do is change strategy, and then we get the response we want. Now, how you fit that wisdom into your context, I need to be there to see it.
Right. What about in like a more corporate setting?
Well, it's about the individual that's sitting in front of you. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
For women that are listening that have never thought about this, so this kind of topic and this discussion is newer to me since starting the podcast and understanding the power of my voice. Still working on being in the note consistently, but I've really come to recognize how important it is to me being my best self. For women who want to discover their note, what would you suggest that they do, or for them to understand if the voice that they are using right now is their note?
Well, to begin with, there needs to be a recognition of, okay, so what would you like to do with your voice? And perhaps because our voices are often so wrapped within the multitudinousness of what it is to be a human being, that maybe their voices are being commented on by somebody on the outside. And it could be a spouse, it could be a partner, it could be a child, it could be a member of the family, it could be a friend, or it could be the HR. It could be the line manager. Mm-hmm. And often it's about the way that they're using their voices in a formal context. So however they come to the quest, or just somebody who's stimulated, who hears this podcast and goes, shit, I never thought about that. That's really fascinating. I would say, good, read The Alchemy of Voice.
Yes.
Or go to www.stewartpearce.com, STEWARTPEARCE. And there's a lot of information there that will awaken the individual to some of the information that we're exchanging and the uniqueness of what our voice is about at this time. Because what we're all recognizing, particularly the amazing women that are coming to the fore at this time, and particularly through #MeToo. I mean, the next chapter of history is going to be written by the women and the girls, there is no doubt, not by the men. And so what's interesting is that you're all stepping forward and you're recognizing that within your psyche, within the psychophysical of your being, there are voices of oppression. And sometimes your own voice is sorely affected by the voice of oppression. And now what's happening is that there's this churning will to step forward and say, I'm going to release this voice of oppression. And also, I have courage because my sisters are doing it as well. I can see my sisters. Because after all, who came forward and said Harvey Weinstein sexually compromised? Ashley Judd. She was the first person to step forward. And then suddenly there were 3 other women who stepped forward. One of my dearest friends, Kim Rubinstein, who I tried to action into stepping forward 12 years ago, but she was terrified because she was sexually abused by the artistic director that she was the associate director with in a theatre on the West Coast. He no longer has that job because through the insistence right now, this year, of me saying, you have to do something about this. Your sisters are doing something about this. You must become part of this vanguard of energy where the arousal of the divine feminine frees you all from the voice of conflict or the voice of horror or the voice of shock or the voice of trauma, what I call the voice of oppression, and find your own voice. And she spoke so loudly that people sat up and listened, whereas 12 years ago, they weren't really listening. And this man no longer has that position of responsibility. So therefore, he has to own his karma and recognize that his conduct was completely inappropriate and that he needs to heal that because that's part of his quest as a soul being on this planet at this time.
I believe we were younger, but I do distinctly remember watching Princess Diana speak, and I don't remember the particular speech, but I do know that there was a shift, and I have an intuitive hit that you were the reason, you were behind that, and without getting too personal about that, but I just am fascinated, someone who is in the public eye and who is so human as she is, for her to be in her power and on voice in such an oppressive construct, to have that shift is really powerful. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I love the way you speak about her being here rather than past.
Yeah, I mean, she's...
I know that was a slip of phrase, but I think she is here.
Yeah.
She's absolutely extraordinary. Yeah, well, I came along in her life. I was recommended to work with her by one of her dearest friends, who was a client of mine. And to be honest, I was asked twice, and I avoided it because I didn't want to become part of the circus. And too many of people like me, coaches or empowerers or healers or therapists, had worked with Diana, and then they'd run off and given all of their secrets to the daily tabloids and made a shitload of money out of it. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was one of the most unscrupulous things. I really felt that we were dealing with the public examination of an amazing empath who just vibrated pure love and was trying in her own, sometimes in glory, sometimes in clumsiness, through bulimia, to discover who she was. Mm. And so I didn't really want to get involved in the horror of all of that and in the paparazzi thing. However, this dear friend, who alas is now dead, the friend of Diana's, said, well, why don't you come and have lunch? Because this lady owned a beautiful restaurant that Diana loved. And so I went and met them both for lunch. And I fell in love. I fell absolutely in love with this adorable being. It was just, of course she was very beautiful, but it wasn't just the exterior beauty, which was luminescent and this huge energy field. It was the fact that her heart was just so beautiful, so delicate, so kind, so honest. And she had just made the Martin Bashir interview on a program called Panorama, where she's doing all of this thing. There are three people in this marriage. And I said, okay, so would you like a comment on this? I feel that what we need to do is to stop, looking like this, and maybe the eyeliner can go. And so what we can do is just lift you up so that you feel that the whole of your spine articulates the confidence and the empowerment of your being, because you're a beautiful woman. When you walk into a room, it's not just Diana walking into a room. A goddess walks into the room. And that's why you are the most photographed woman in recorded history. You are iconic. So what I want us to do is to awaken to the archetypal status of the fact that you are an anointed one. So let's not hide. Let's stop hiding from that. And she went, yeah, I'm right on. What I did was I just created a strategy for her by borrowing all the craft skills that I developed over the years, which are used by great actors. How does an actor walk on a stage and summon or command the attention of 2,000 people? If we're in our note, if we're really aware of this power of our physical presence, we radiate a magnetic glory. And all peoples are arrested by it. And we saw that during the work that we were doing in the retreat, didn't we? We saw that when people dropped in to their authentic voice, there's a mechanism in we human beings which is completely organic, where we sort of go, wow, who is it? What did you just do? That was amazing. It's very extraordinary that a piece of magic is released from the cosmology of our inner presence. Wow. So that's what I did with her, and building her confidence. Of course, in the meantime, she was still going through the process that we now, that we can now read about because it's been chronicled by so many biographers, of divorcing Charles. Now what do I do? That was her big mission. And she was constantly saying, well, I'm never going to be authoritarian. What I'm going to be is humanitarian. And so she went to the major points of focus in her interest, whether it be AIDS, whether it be homeless people, whether it be drug addiction, whether it be mental health, or whether it be landmines. So I was helping her determine not necessarily the idea, I must work with landmines, because that was very much, that came to her through what was requested of her, but how she can approach it in terms of the level of her interest, the amount of activity that she was involved in, and of course how she developed her public persona to speak about the matters that really moved her to bring about change. And that's why I'm calling, I'm in the process of publishing a book called Diana, the Voice of Change. And so the workshops that I'm doing around the world at the moment are called the Voice of Change, because I feel that Diana is with us, providing us with an inspiration of how we can find our voices, particularly women and girls, how they can find their voices to be revolutionary in the way that Meghan Markle is revolutionary, because of what she was able to attain before meeting Harry, and now she's changed the whole of British monarchy. It's extraordinary what she's been able to do through the love of these two beautiful people that, because after all, she's half African-American, she's an actress, she's American, and she's divorced. And she's just married a royal prince. And 22 years ago, when Diana was around, divorce was simply not a question. The shock of Prince Charles divorcing her, and at the same time as his own siblings divorcing their spouse, that was a huge, huge shift. Whereas when I was a child, the Queen's sister fell in love with a man who was divorced, and she had to give that relationship up. That was Group Captain Townsend, because he was a divorcee. We couldn't have a princess of the royal tradition and heritage of the British Isles marrying a divorcee. That was the social stigma that was there. But of course, we come a long way, and we come a long way in terms of the emancipation of our sexuality, whether it be to do with the fact that it's a heterosexual man or a heterosexual woman rather, or to do with the fact that we're gay or bi or trans. There's this huge revolution that has taken place over the last 22, 25 years. And I personally find it really interesting. I'm working with 2 transgender people at the moment who are absolutely amazing. And they're women who have become men. They're gorgeous men, I'm telling you.
Wow.
They're really extraordinary. And so what I'm doing is helping them find a way of really being with their voices, of really being with their note, so that they speak the voice of liberation, the voice of empowerment, and the voice of courage, and the voice of pride in who they are.
Just to piggyback off of that, if you are someone like Diana who has been, anointed in that way, and just you too, you're working with a lot of people and giving a lot of energy. Like, what does that spiritual self-care look like to be able to hold space in that way and to also retain the energy needed to give more? Does that make sense? Because we kind of deal with that. We're on tour now for the podcast. And so we're speaking to, 100, 200 people at a time, and to hold space for them and still stay on our note and to be in our body presents sometimes a challenge.
Mm. There are a series of degrees that I use. I mean, the first thing is that, and I hope I radiate this, that the raison d'etre, the original impulse of my work is all about love. Love, 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 love. And love for me is all there is. So that's an inexhaustible force. Uh-huh. And as soon as we find ways through meditation, through mindfulness, and mindfulness, I mean physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So it's, what are we eating? What are we drinking? What sort of lifestyle are we living? Are we really making sure that, having done a lot, that we're really moving into conscious recovery? What is the nature of that conscious recovery? So if we're not meditating once a day, we're crazy. And I say we need to be meditating twice a day. But those meditations need to be the second degree, which is detach, feel stillness, and observe. So wherever we are in the busyness of our lives, professionally or personally, that when we encounter not joy, because joy and love are just effortlessly free-flowing, and it's so easy to live those. But if we're experiencing challenges, which many of us are, because our world is quaking, all of the systems that have kept our world together, particularly in relation to the patriarchal nature of central government and all its bureaucracy, is quaking because its system is now moving through its death throes. And there are people working within those systems that don't want it to die. And as we're seeing, it's a bit of a mess. But at the same time, if we don't experience a detachment and a stillness, then I feel that, particularly as empaths, we get caught up in the hurly-burly of what's taking place, either within the inner sequence of somebody's neuroses or within what's happening neurotically in the world, and take time out from it. The third degree, I would say, is that if we can be at one with breath, breath is our soul, breath is pranayama, breath is chi, breath is may the force be with you. And that if we're really in tune with our breath, what happens is that we find the ability in the moment between the in-breath and the out-breath, there's a very, very powerful God spot there. And if we can find that spot, we bring the whole of our being, particularly the left and right hemisphere, into balance so that we work from the whole core of our being. And that is a space of inestimable force. That's a space of inestimable magic. It's a space of untold power.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from our sponsor, Stitch Fix. So this is an online personal styling service that finds and delivers clothes, shoes, and accessories to fit your body, budget, and lifestyle. I just ordered my Stitch Fix. So all I did was going to the website, and I told them my sizes for various pieces of clothing, shoes, etc., what styles I liked. So, I'm very simple, but I'm kind of picky. Does that make sense? So I told them exactly what I liked and what I didn't like. And they ask how much you want to spend on each item. So this is how it works. You go to stitchfix.com/almost30. You're going to tell them all those things, the size, the style, how much you want to spend. And then you'll be paired with your very own personal stylist who will handpick 5 items to send right to your door. So when they get to you, you try them on and you only pay for what you love, and then you return the rest. So shipping, exchanges, and returns are always free. There's no subscription required, which I like. And you can sign up to receive scheduled shipments, if you want to, or you can get your fix whenever you want. So Stitch Fix's styling fee is only $20, which is applied toward anything you keep from your shipment. So for our listeners, you can get started at stitchfix.com/almost30, and you'll get an extra 25% off when you keep all 5 items in your box. That's stitchfix.com/almost30 to get started. 25% off when you choose to keep all 5 items. And listen, if your first box, you don't like all 5 items, cool, send it all back. But once you decide to keep all 5 items in any box at any time, you get 25% off. That's a pretty damn good deal. I'm super jazzed to get my new threads. So if you order Stitch Fix, you get a box, tag us, let us know what you're keeping, try it on, share it with us. We love you. This episode is also brought to you by Hum Nutrition. It's what's helping me every single day feel good from the inside out. When you take care of your insides, you see it on the outside, and Hum Nutrition helps you do so. We are so proud to have them as a sponsor from the get-go, and I'm really excited to celebrate their newest product, the Collagen Pop. It's dissolvable collagen and a vitamin C boost for firm and hydrated skin. It improves the elasticity of your skin. It boosts collagen levels and locks in skin moisture. And it upgrades your water into a rose and lemon beauty tonic. It's bubbly. It's delicious. Oftentimes, drinks that have collagen in it don't taste good because collagen honestly doesn't taste good. This tastes good. So it's these little tablets. They dissolve in your water. They bubble. It's great. I love to just pop it in the morning or sometimes midday. It totally makes a difference. Collagen is the secret sauce. I'm telling you, ladies, if your skin is a little, lifeless, or you are worried about elasticity and wrinkles and all of that, give collagen a try. We are true believers. HumNutrition.com. You can use our code almost30nation for 15% off your first order. And when it comes to your supplements, you just take a brief quiz, and a certified nutritionist will suggest 3 to 5 various vitamins to implement into your routine. You can ask them any questions at any time. They're so helpful. We love them. HumNutrition.com. Use our code almost30nation.
I want to touch on the physicality of your voice. So, there's a lot with your soul and there's a lot with breath, but can you touch on how we can physically tap in, or what kind of physical cues we should be using? And additionally, eating, drinking, how we're taking care of our body, how does that affect our voice?
Yeah, and there are a series of CDs or recordings, MP3s that I made, which address this, and one of them I would say to the listeners, if they're really interested, the first one is Awakening, which is all about finding our note, how to breathe into relaxation, how to find a note. And then the second is called Initiation, which is for the practiced individual who maybe is meditated and is aware of what stillness is created through meditation, and maybe is also engaged in yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong, or the work that you guys are doing, where you're finding the expenditure of energy then leads to moments of recovery where you feel really still and grounded. And that recording is called Initiation, where we literally chant within body, chakras open, and then the first transpersonal chakra of universal heart. What this does is, you see, it begins to develop the musculature of our body voices. And as a result of that, they automatically, organically we become very conscious. I mean, I can take you through 2 minutes worth of meditation where we tune into your note, if you like, and then listen.
I'd love that.
Oh, wow. That would be incredible.
Feet on the ground, baby.
Okay. So, as you were just saying, if you just, wherever you're seated, whether it's cross-legged or sitting in an upright chair, if you can just make sure that your whole body is as grounded as possible. So that, in other words, you feel weight, the weight of your being in connection with the floor or the earth or whatever you're seated on. And then as you do this, be aware of your spine aligned. So you're not sinking into the pelvis or slumping. The spine is aligned. The specific reason for this being that the neural pathway of your spine is the most important energy conductor of your body. And if it's bent, then your brain is bent. So if you're straight, you're, automatically the energy flows very, very, very freely. And then just check what's happening in the upper body so that your shoulders are very balanced and not round shouldering or braced back. And just place your hands in your lap or on your thighs. And if you want to, bring the tip of thumb and forefinger together either side. And then as you feel your spine, imagine that the whole of your spine is illuminated by a silver white beam of light that goes all the way through your spine. And if you can imagine it going down through the base of your spine and then through where you're seated, into the floor beneath you, maybe through the floors of the building, if you have floors beneath you, into the basement, into the earth's crust, and then go down through the soil, the clay, the stone, the rock, into bedrock. And even though your spine is aligned, you'll feel a very subtle energy in your body just drawing you deep into the feeling of being in connection with Mother Earth. You see, the interesting thing is she's always there holding us. It's just that we ignore her. The way that I place it is that she has unconditional love for us. That unconditional love we call gravity. So ask her for a gift, ask her for a blessing, and then coming up through the rock and the stone and the clay and the soil and then the earth's crust, through the basement of the building, and then through the floors, wherever you may be positioned, back into your body, and just see it going all the way through your spine. If you have any images or blessings that Mother Earth has given you, place them in your heart as you feel the laser beam of light going through the spine and then shooting off through the top of your head, through the building, through the atmosphere of the planet, off, and seek out the brightest star above our heads, which is Venus, known as the morning star, the evening star, and just connect with Venus. So the sister of love, Venus, Aphrodite, is overlighting you, and Mother Earth is underpinning you. So this is pretty good. And now we're going to breathe in the breath of Father Heaven. And if you can see the breath as you breathe in as a beautiful silver white light, you'll feel it going down through your body, rather like an elevator going down through a shaft. And then we're going to use it to chant through our hearts to find our note. So just let all the breath go. Feel the need to breathe, and then breathe in. Feel the whole of your interior full of that white light. Pause, and then let it go. Feel empty. Feel the need to breathe, and then breathe in. Feel the whole of your interior soothed, caressed by that breath, and then let it go. Again, feel the need, and breathe in. And then just let it go on. Feel the need. and pause and rest. Just breathing in your own rhythm. Just soak in the feeling of the depth within you, of the weight and the stillness. And you'll feel the stillness. It's just really beautiful to be in the presence of, as you soak in you. And notice that the feeling of soaking in you gives you a feeling of your texture, your fabric, your essence. So in effect, we're soaking in soul. Your soul, my soul, our soul. And as you feel this, just notice how your skin suit creates a subtle separation between the inner you and the outer world. And within your skin suit, there are these portals that we conceive intelligence through. All of our beliefs, all of our attitudes, all of our ways of being are filtered through these portals, which are our senses. So let's just feel. Feeling, the feelingness of feeling. From the top of your head to the soles of your feet, to the seat of your butt, to the tips of your fingers. Hearing the hearingness of hearing. More subtly, smelling, tasting. And then when you're ready, just gently opening your eyes, and the world will look like a completely different space. Thank you. That was amazing. Wow. I feel wonderful.
You. I do too. Seeing the voice or the face of an angel. You glow. You do.
I was just thinking about how, we have a meditation practice. Krista actually introduced me to meditation, but if someone can't, like the act of just taking a moment to be still, our generation especially is literally going from A to B to C to D. The in-between is of no importance to a lot of people. I think a lot of my anxiety exists in not taking the time to find that stillness, because I think I should be moving always, moving forward. So that was really powerful. Thank you.
I do. I hear you very loudly, and it's something that I'm very preoccupied by, that we spend too much time doing. And most of the time we're not doing what we could be doing because they say so. So we get stressed out. We produce a lot of stress hormone just to support the doing. And then somebody comes along and said, have you ever thought of just being still? And then we become absolutely amazed by, in the stillness is a power that is almost more powerful than the doing. And I feel that that's the secret that you women are teaching us men. Because I feel the stillness, that quality of being, is the divine feminine. And the doing is the male. So in order for all of our peoples on this planet to come back into balance, there needs to be this very remarkable change. I was on a TV panel the other evening, which was discussing what do we need to do to change the chaos in the world. And so I borrowed from Einstein. Einstein said there is no way that we can heal the problems of the world by using the same strategy that created. So the point of definition has to be, well, what's the strategy that's created the problems? And for me, it's doing, and the stress hormones of noradrenaline, cortisol that we produce to support that doing. And then we begin to realize, well, no, the new paradigm has to be being. Because when we're being, we produce endorphins like serotonin and oxytocin that make us high. Oxytocin is the love hormone. We all know what it's like when we fall in love. It's like we can become invincible, like Superman, Superwoman, we can become. So what happens if we're being? And then the next question was, well, how does this fit into the context of healing some of the problems that we're seeing, for example, in either central government or within the principal financial services in the world? Because we're obviously heading towards some level of immense crisis. In central government, it's always already happening. So I said, stillness. And they said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, if we look at central government, particularly in the United States of America, it's obvious that the Constitution needs to be redefined. So where did the Constitution come from? And everybody said, well, Philadelphia. Founding fathers of the United States of America. So Benjamin Franklin, George Washington. And I said, yes, and where did they get it from? Everybody looked nonplussed. And I said, have you ever been to those buildings that those men lived and worked in? Have you ever noticed that they are amazingly still? Because they were all Quakers. And the Quakers sit together twice a day for an hour without doing a thing. It's an honoring practice in absolute stillness. So you see, those men created the extraordinary nature of that Constitution in stillness. They dreamed it into existence and then they wrote it down. So I feel the panacea. I mean, can you imagine the Senate beginning every single Senate hearing or important doctoral process in silence, in stillness? I mean, in really conscious, mindful, breathed silence. All the enmity would literally evaporate.
We were just talking about that the other day. Like, we're waiting for the day when, the president begins either a meeting or a speech with a grounding, a meditation. Mm-hmm. How different it would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Our events, when we do a grounding or a breath or take a moment to bring into the room, the difference in the quality of the event is
palpable.
It's crazy. You could tell, it's more controlled. We're able to handle the energy. We're able to direct the energy appropriately. I mean, it's the most incredible thing. So we always, make sure to do with each event to have a grounding moment of breath. That was beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Stewart, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much.
Really, really powerful.
It's such fun seeing you two beautiful ladies.
Well,
thanks.
we're headed to London in the new year for our tours, so we'll be sure to reach out.
Oh, I would love to hang.
And you must, please do, yeah. At some point, I'm going to be moving to New York. But
oh, really? Doing what's going on?
Big things.
I'm sure.
The next step, I have to be in the Big Apple.
Yes.
Step of creativity, and it has a lot to do with Diana, the voice of change.
I wonder if it's going to be a show.
So it's going to be, yeah. And, there are big projects planned. And maybe even love.
Wonderful.
A love interest. That would be.
I feel that for you.
Yeah.
I feel that very strongly.
Putting it out there for you.
I also, do you think, and I don't mean to overstep, but do you think Diana brought Meghan Markle to her son? Like, I feel like that was so her energy to, she is changing that paradigm. And yeah, I just felt like she's so
unquestionably.
Yeah. So she's going to do it for you too. Well, thank you so much. We are so grateful.
My pleasure. You are absolutely beautiful. I've had such fun being with you. So thank you very much. And to all the listeners,
yes,
I say much love. Namaste, namaste, namaste.
Where can they find you really quickly? So I just want to make it clear so that they can find your recordings, your website, your services, everything.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about the slightly more metaphysical side of me, but the overt side is stewartpearce.com. Mm-hmm. But then, if anybody's interested in the healing substance that I do, go to the angelsofatlantis.com.
Why Atlantis?
Because Atlantis was an extraordinary civilization of great purity, where we lived on this planet, living fully a 12 helix DNA. At the moment, we're living a double helix DNA. Within our bodies, we have the potential to live a 12 helix DNA. And so what the angels are doing is teaching, not let's return to Atlantis, but they're teaching a way of being, pure love, pure joy, pure abundance. So I've just done an immensely successful summit with a wonderful man called John Burgos, who's one of America's leading summiteers. And apart from the fact that 300,000 people listened into the conversation that we had for about an hour and a half, 150 people came to have sessions with me. So in 150, and everybody is inquiring. The summit was called the Portal of Transcendence. Everybody was asking about, well, how can the angels help me in this way? It's been very successful. I'll be doing another one in the fall with Darius. Darius is just amazing. Amazing, amazing.
And that will be in New York or London?
It's online.
Oh, it's online.
Oh,
Great.
wow.
It's all online, you see. Okay. That's the amazing thing. So I have a global clientele. I in fact, today, most of the time now, I'm online speaking to people, I don't know, mostly in the States, but in Kuala Lumpur, Hong Kong, Lagos, Moscow. Incredible. Well, we'll have to hop on. I would love to.
Mm-hmm.
What I'll do is I'll make sure that your emails are on my newsletter list. Right. And then you'll get a monthly newsletter and you'll see what I'm doing, who I'm doing it to, the whole thing.
Right. We would love that.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. We're so grateful for you.
Thank you.
I love you both.
Love you
both.
too. Have a good wonderful day.
Bye.
Oh, and did you guys like that meditation too?
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, that was so funny because I was like, I need to be meditating more. I was moving. I'll literally stop talking about the move, but I needed more meditation in my life. And then we had 2 opportunities where meditations came to us, and that was one of them. It was really nice.
It was so nice. But Stewart is incredible. If you have a chance to, one, definitely grab his meditations and chants. Like, all of his stuff is so powerful.
Mm-hmm. He has a book.
And he has a book. And, if you ever have a chance to go to one of his workshops, it's on his website, stewartpearce.com.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, him in person, I can't wait for you to meet him in person. Like, he's literally out of this world.
Yeah. Actually,
not of this planet.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for listening.
Love you guys.
We love you. Come visit us on tour, almost30podcast.com/tour. We are adding dates constantly and also going international in the new year. So if you want us to come to your country, we're planning on, taking this thing across the sea.
I cannot wait to hop over.
Yeah. So if you like to help us plan a meetup and know that the community is buzzing, please let us know. We're so down.
Yeah. And then we have a podcast guide. So how to start a podcast on our website. So you can get that there. If you guys are interested in starting your own podcast, it's $19.99. So go grab that. And then we have 3 more of our I Am Enough necklaces. So pick up your I Am Enough necklace and rock it.
Rock it, baby. All right. Love ya.
Love ya.